Well, I figured I would record this since I'm going to put my Xeno together here pretty soon. So this is the box I got. I don't know exactly what weight switches these are. These are the Roselio switches, but I don't know the weight. When I got an email from Henry Zeal, he asked me, he gave me a few options, but the Helios V2, the Helios switches that I ordered with the Xeno were out of stock and they're not coming back in stock. They're going to be Helios V2s, but obviously with everything that's going on right now, this is March 19th, 2020, for those of you that are watching this in the future. There was no guarantee when that was going to happen, so I figured I would take a few minutes and just kind of show you guys what I use to lube my switches and how I lube my switches. And of course, this is a very personal thing. Different people like different things. I use this method when I put together my TX108 SE with my Helios, and it feels like typing on little clouds. I really enjoy it. So first things first, I've got my Roselios. I'm not sure if these are 63 or 67 gram springs. Doesn't matter. I'm just going to have to work with them because it's what I have, and at this time there isn't anything else available that is comparable, at least not directly from Zeal. I have some 3204. This is from One Up Keyboards. It's been sitting in my drawer for a while. I'll use that on the housing and the actual stem itself. And I have this Krytox 1514 that I use on my springs. And what I do is I put all the springs in here, obviously, and I put a few drops of oil in here, usually in the ballpark of about 10 or so, and I shake them up, and then I use these tweezers to pull the springs out of here individually, put them back into their housing, put the stem on top of that, close the housing, and we're done. This is the tool that I use to open up my switches here. I don't remember where I got this from, but it comes in handy, works well. And this is what I lube my stabilizers with, which is dielectric grease. I will be using Zeal's stabilizers in this build as well. That came as part of the kit. And I just have a cheap finger brush. I actually have a cheap paintbrush that I use to apply the 3204 to the actual housing and the stem itself. So I'm gonna go ahead and break a few down, and then I'll show you guys how I do it, and that'll be the end of the video. All right, as you can see, I've got all of them broken down except for 3 of them, and one that I'm gonna keep off to the side to compare the lube switches to the unlubed switch. But I have all of these stems and one housing. All the stems in here. Well, I have one of the stems in here too. Guess I got them flipped backwards. All the stems in this cup, all the housings in this cup. Then I have all the springs in this container. I'll put, like I said, about 10 drops of this 1514 VPF oil in there and shake it around. And I will lube these stems on the sides, the rails, where they contact the rails. I'll drop the spring in, drop the stem in, and then close the top. But let me show you what it looks like when I take them apart. So like I said, I use this tool here. Works pretty well. You just stick it in here like this, give it a slight squeeze, and, well, that one didn't work that well. Give it a slight squeeze, and the top comes off. The stem goes in this cup, and then the spring goes over here. So it's pretty quick, a lot easier than doing it manually. I did that the first time I tried to lube some switches up. I tried to use some tweezers, and you can do it that way, but I find that it's a lot more difficult. And when you're lubing up several switches and you're already going to be working for, you know, an hour plus, it makes it a lot more frustrating to have to fumble around with some tweezers and try to get things situated. So that's all pulled apart. Like I said, I'll add some VPF oil to this, about 8 drops. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, and I'm going to shake this up. And when you shake it, you'll notice that the oil gets distributed around to the springs. And I'm not going to pull them out of here because I don't want them to get dusty or anything like that. But I am going to pull out one of the stems, which I did it again. I got them backwards, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to pop this open, and I'm going to, like I said, lube the rails, and I'll show you where I'm talking about if I can get it to focus. The portion with the white sticking out right here, I'm going to lube that on both sides. I don't want to get any lube on the front here. Man, I'm having a hard time getting this to focus. I don't want to get any lube on the front of the stem because I don't want to interfere with the spring, the leaf of the switch. So we will add a little bit of 3204. And it varies depending on how you like your switches to feel. I just like to get enough where I can kind of see it. And once I have enough where I can see it, man, this is not much focus. There we go. So you can kind of see there how much I have. I'm going to, first of all, not contaminate my brush, but I'm going to, and I shouldn't have done it this way either. Let's see. I'm going to grab this here. I'm going to drop one of these springs into the housing. And once I have the spring into the housing, I'm going to drop this onto the spring, the stem onto the spring, work it a few times, and then I'm going to grab one of the top housings, making sure that the section that is raised in the back like this is over the spring, the actual leaf spring itself. It'll close down and we have a lubricated switch. Feels a lot smoother, not too heavy. I think these are 63 grams, so you can hear that's the unlubed spring. And that's the lube spring. I don't know if you can hear the difference there on camera, but I'm gonna continue on. I have about 70 more to do. So I will pick up at the end and I will show you guys what I have.